Hello again, and thank you for tuning in to another Tale from the Table. I'm your host, Dilly Dips, and today we're going to be taking a break from the Chronicles of the Queen's Gambit. We're going to be discussing something else. So as I said before in previous Tales from the Table, before we all got caught up in the proper campaign of D&D, excuse me, I have a really sore throat. Before we started the Chronicles of the Queen's Gambit, we played kind of smaller mini one-shots while we were figuring out how the game worked. And those were a lot of fun at times. But some of them were less fun. We're going to be talking about one of the less fun times, which included two guys. Okay, change their names. Okay, we're going to call the first guy, we're going to call him Terry. So Terry, he had never played D&D before, but he thought it would be really cool. And so he had a great idea for a character, a bard called Wheatley the Bard, inspired by Wheatley from Portal. And it's like you kind of have that kind of same theme. Wheatley the Bard. So we invited him to a D&D session where we did a one-shot. Nice dungeon crawl, simple dungeon, I DM'd. And then the other guy, we're going to call him Luther. So we have Terry and Luther. Luther, he was experienced with D&D, but he had never actually played with us before, but he had experience with it from other sources. So we got Terry playing a bard, and we have Luther playing I think it was a Dragonborn Paladin. Or it might have been some other race. I don't know. Dragonborn Paladin with a big, huge axe. Okay? So, we had a tank and a support player. And they're both new to gaming. Semi-new. So, we're like, okay, yeah, sure, come out to a session. We'll do a one-shot. We didn't know a one-shot meant at the time. We'll come out to a session. We'll go into a dungeon and see what loot we can find. So at the table we had the current player of Chikaliku, the current player of Ezio, and we had Terry and Luther. Now this was before we had a proper campaign, so everybody had different level characters. The Dragonborn Paladin was level 3. Wheatley was level 1. The character being played by Chikaliku, who was a ranger. The ranger was level 11, I think. No, level 9. Somewhere around the Paragon Path, right before the Paragon Path. And the rogue who was played by the current player of Ezio, who was like level 2. So it was widely varied, and so the ranger did a lot of the heavy lifting and taking out the big monsters. So I kind of with a cheesy plot hook, throw them into a dungeon. So the first thing I noticed about Luther's combat style was that Luther was a fan of negotiating his way out of problems, which is good for a player. I mean, it's always good to have a player who likes to roleplay, but he would do it all the time, and we all knew that it would eventually end in combat. So there's really no point in negotiation, but he would just negotiate every single combat encounter. Like we walk into a dungeon room, negotiate with the goblins there. Negotiations fail. Fight. Next room. See the zombies. Try to negotiate with the zombies, which is pointless because zombies can't speak common. Ended the fight. In next room, dragon. Ends in the fight. I should get a new chair. And then the thing I noticed about what do I call him? Terry. The thing I noticed about Terry's combat style was that he used a lot of creative, like non-combat ways in combat. Not creative in a good way though, if that's even possible. He would kind of wander off and do his own thing, like like in the middle of a fight with like we'll use goblins. In the middle of a fight with some goblins, he wanders up to a bookshelf, searches the bookshelf, and sees what books there are for him to read. Or he had a magic item that I gave him, which is like his top hat. He took it off. He stepped inside the top hat, and that was his house. So he would just chill in there for a while, which kind of threw off the game a bit. We had the support character, the the kind of the guy who gives pluses to attack rolls and stuff. He was being useless. This annoyed everyone to quite an extent. So everyone's being annoyed by these two players, Luther and Terry. And then go on through this dungeon a while, and they get into this one fight with, I believe it was skeletons. So a big fight with skeletons. Of course, Luther busts into negotiation, which is kind of pointless, because they're skeletons. They can't speak, I don't think. They might be able to speak, like, dark speech or something. I don't know, I'll Google it later. Someone in the comments will tell me. One of my 13 subscribers. The trick... So we had two kind of players who were annoying everyone else. And it was only four players. So that was less than optimal. And eventually, like, this game was running very slow in a series of, I believe it was a 3.5 hour session. We only got through about 3 small fights. Like, one with goblins, one with zombies, and one with, skeletons. Because you just keep negotiating, and then, like, Terry would just go off and do his own thing. It was really quite annoying. I mean, it turned out that Terry, he really wasn't into the whole gaming scene, which is fine. It's not for everybody. But, in that one session, he kind of just threw off the whole thing. And eventually, I think in the third fight, as the negotiations between Luther and the skeletons failed, Terry just flat out said, "This game's boring," and he just kind of stopped playing. His character just sat there, which again, it can be problematic. It's problematic for most people playing the game if one character just stops playing. The support character, nonetheless. So he kind of stopped playing, and so of course, we didn't know how to react to this predicament. So eventually, like, okay, guys, we'll just stop playing, and then everyone left. So it was supposed to be a 4-hour session, but everyone left half an hour early because we had a negotiating useless paladin, and we had a bard whose player wasn't interested in the game. So the moral of the story is, make sure you choose wisely who you take along with you in an adventure, because if you have, I guess we were introducing him to the game, but like if you're gonna do a campaign, don't bring someone along who might get bored and walk away halfway through the game. Lesson of the day, DMs. If you're going to do a proper campaign, make sure you know who the good players are. That's what I did. I chose the 3 best players that I liked playing with the most. That's all for this time. Before I go, make sure you check out my pandemic review that I published yesterday. It was pretty cool. Check it out. See you later, DMs and players.
Hey everyone, just want to let you guys know, because we put out the review of Pandemic on Monday, we're gonna be uploading nothing this Saturday, And then the Saturday after that, we're gonna be doing a new episode of Roll with It, and then we're gonna go from there in the schedule. And yeah, that's that. See ya.